Hi everyone, this is Ellen from the Astrology Journal. I want to share with you an audio article that I wrote and recorded. It's called The Mars-Uranus Conjunction, Worth and Will. So this is about the Mars-Uranus conjunction that's happening on July 15th, 2024, and I'm just bringing through a theme that I think is relevant for that chart energy. I'm also creating a video walkthrough of the chart, of the Mars-Uranus conjunction chart, and I'm bringing out other themes in that video, so you may want to also watch that. But with that said, I'll launch into the article. There's a scene in the movie Hidalgo that for me sums up the energy of the Mars-Uranus conjunction. In fact, the whole movie, with its themes of will, worth, and intrigue born out of social hierarchies based on bloodline and religion, reminds me of it. This conjunction between Mars and Uranus happens about every 2 years. This time around, it will happen on July 15th, 2024. So, starting on that date, we'll enter into a new 2-year Mars-Uranus cycle. Hidalgo, the title of the film, is the name of a horse, the horse being a Mustang of the Wild West. According to Merriam-Webster, Hidalgo is a Spanish word that means a member of the lower nobility of Spain. The symbolism of social hierarchy and rank is a theme that permeates this film, and it's also one that permeates our society, conditioning our sense of identity, place, and worth. The symbolism of the Mustang, a perfect metaphor for the movie as we'll see, might also be the perfect archetype for the energies embodied in the chart of the Mars-Uranus conjunction. Mustangs, according to Oklahoma State University, are feral horses who roam free in herds in the western United States. And I just want to add here that I read another article that said not all of the Mustangs roam free in these herds. The United States government does manage them, and so they'll call them, and I'm not sure where they keep the other horses, but they will keep them somewhere else and maintain them there, wherever that is. So, originally brought over by Spanish conquistadors, the Mustangs mixed and were mixed with other breeds over the years, so they're a mixed breed, not thoroughbreds. Feral, it should be noted, is a word applied to once tamed animals that have become wild. Wild refers to animals that were never tamed. So I'm not going to say anything more about that, but I think that's an interesting distinction and worth meditating on with regard to us as humans at this time. Although I titled this article Worth and Will, freedom is the grander theme. Freedom being the state that arises naturally from our sense of worth, and worth being that which births our exercise of free will. So without worth and will, we can't get to freedom. The movie Hidalgo is set sometime during the long and painful and frankly horrific period of the genocidal conquest of America by our early American ancestors. The central character, the hero well played by Viggo Mortensen, is Frank Hopkins. Hopkins was a real-life person, and the movie is said to be based on a true story. But it seems that the details of Hopkins' life portrayed in the movie don't line up with historical fact. So if you can let go of the historical inaccuracies and take the movie on its own merits as the story of one person's search for identity, self-acceptance, and peace, then the movie holds up reasonably well. Based on the movie, Hopkins' mother was Native American and his father was a white soldier. And I guess I should say here, I think he was a soldier. He was white. So his mother was Native American and his father was white. Hopkins himself was a long-distance horse racer past his prime, but who was reputed to have won, together with Hidalgo, every race he had entered when younger. Living in the white world and working as a scout and translator, he witnessed the Wounded Knee massacre, an experience that haunted him. And for those of you who don't know what the Wounded Knee Massacre was, that was essentially the United States Army gunned down a Native American tribe. Unprovoked, essentially, they gunned down a Native American tribe. There was a standoff, or there was the soldiers were there. There was a lot of tension. The soldiers didn't understand Native American culture. They misunderstood something that was happening. Somebody fired a shot, and that just let loose a whole bunch of other shots, and the result was the Wounded Knee Massacre. So that's what that scene is referencing. That's what that scene in the movie is about. So in the next scene in the movie, we find Hopkins washed up and drunken. He's working for Buffalo Bill's Wild West show, living out a version of himself completely devoid of worth. After Hopkins crashes into the crowds in a drunken blunder during one of his performances while riding Hidalgo, a representative for a Saudi sheik, offended by the claim that they make in the Buffalo Bill show that Hopkins is the greatest long-distance horse racer ever, challenges Hopkins to race in a legendary long-distance horse race through the Arabian desert. Hopkins doesn't want to do it and walks out. After he walks out, he runs into another member of the Buffalo Bill cast, Chief Eaglehorn. Chief Eaglehorn encourages Hopkins to enter the race, citing the dead-endedness of their situation. But Hopkins still doesn't want to do it, saying that Hidalgo is past his prime. Chief Eaglehorn, wise to the core, and who calls Hopkins Far Rider, says, "I call you Far Rider not because of your gift for long-distance racing, but because you have traveled so far from your own spirit." And I should just quickly say here that that's not an exact quote, that's my paraphrasing of what he said. After the conversation, Hopkins decides to enter the race. From the time Hopkins and Hidalgo land in Saudi Arabia, Hidalgo's worth is called into question. A mixed-breed Mustang, in the eyes of the other riders, is woefully inferior to the Arabian thoroughbreds for whom this race was created. To allow a mixed breed into the race was considered an insult. The assessments of Hidalgo's worth hit painfully close to home for Hopkins with regard to his identity and experience as someone of mixed heritage, scorned by the society in which he lived, especially for the Native American part of his being because he lived in the white world. Once the race through the desert begins, Hopkins and Hidalgo are faced with natural dangers and human-contrived intrigue aimed at taking them out. Ultimately, through the fire of the trials, Hopkins' divided and beaten soul is healed. So I'm not going to tell you about the pivotal scene because I don't want to spoil it for you. But here I do want to get back to the scene I wanted to tell you about when I started this article. In this scene, a scene that occurs deep into the race at a time when many of the riders have already fallen prey to tragedy and calamity, Hopkins and Hidalgo themselves already having faced and overcome a number of natural and human-made challenges, Hopkins is tending a fellow rider whom he rescued from a quicksand pit. The scene occurs at night during a lull in the action. The rider, not understanding why Hopkins stopped to help him, asks why he did. Doesn't he understand that it's God's will who will finish the race and who will not, who will survive and who will die? Picking up on the theme of God's will in the words, "It is written," that this man invokes, Hopkins responds, "What about your will? Only then is it written." And that is what I believe the energy of this Mars-Uranus conjunction in Taurus is about. Taurus representing worth, Mars representing will, and Uranus representing sudden flashes of light awakening our insight. In this case, into our inherent worth. Think of a storm at night, flashes of lightning stochastically revealing what is hidden in the dark. What is hidden is our worth, our connection to it, our recognition of it. I believe the universe wants us to remember that. Think of a car engine turning over and over but not quite catching. Something's missing, preventing the car from starting. In this analogy, the thing that's missing, the thing that needs attention, is our worth. While we're given the raw material of will and courage, another aspect of Mars, to start us off in this life, it's only when will and courage are paired with a deeper sense of worth that they can sustain us beyond their instinctual manifestations. The work of Mars, symbol of will and courage, in Taurus, symbol of worth, is to anchor our will into our inbuilt sense of worth. Only then can our actions move from instincts running us to sustainable actions that can carry us through life. These sustainable actions being born out of a deeply felt sense of who we are. This sense of self itself grounded in a sense of worth. Every one of us is worthy. We are born that way. It's not in question in the larger picture of reality. Considering the symbolism of the Mars-Uranus conjunction, I believe that over the next couple of years, the universe will be bringing us flashes of insight designed to remind us of and reconnect us with our innate worthiness, a sense that arises from a realization and appreciation of who we are. I want to end by saying that I believe courage, real courage anchored in worth, is a calm, unsung quality that quietly sustains us through our lives, enabling us to make small choices day by day that allow us to stay on our path, on the course that is true to who we are. It is this quality, I believe, that the energies of these next 2 years will be helping us reconnect to and anchor within ourselves. So I'm going to end this here. Thank you for listening. I hope there was something helpful for you in it. Remember to watch the video walkthrough of the Mars-Uranus conjunction that I'm also going to be putting up. That I focused in on some different themes, and so that may fill things out or may give you a different perspective. And remember that I'm always just sharing the perspective that I see. There's lots that you can see in the chart. So what really matters is what happens for you. If this helps along the way, then I think that's wonderful. But trust you and trust your experience. That's actually another Taurus theme, is trusting yourself. So with that said, I'm going to end. And again, thank you for listening. Take care.